Good morning.
Morning, Your Worship.
Let us pray. Councillor Tara, pray for us.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning. We thank you for your grace, and we pray that you will be present during this meeting. Lord God, as we are gathered here, we ask for your godly wisdom. We ask that your Holy Spirit will be with us to guide us through this meeting. We ask for your presence, dear Heavenly Father. We ask, dear Lord, that you will be present in every sense in this meeting, Heavenly Father. God, Hemelsmeester, ons kom plaas iedereen elk wat vanoggend hier binne is onder u kostbare bloed, Vader van genade. En ons vra, Here, dat elke bespreking, elke gedagte wat hier uitgaan, Meester van genade, dat dit van u sal kom en dat dit vir die beste van onze gemeenskap sal wees, Almagtige Vader. Here Jesus, ons kom kanselleer enige plan van die vyand, Meester van genade, elke gedagte wat nie van u afkom nie, Almagtige Vader, kom kanselleer ons. Ons vra dit, Here, nie omdat ons dit verdien nie, maar om u goeie naams wil. Amen.
Come and sit. But the Mayor, councillors, welcome to the meeting for this month. We'd like to acknowledge from the onset various achievements that was obtained in our town. We have now a recognized traditional authority, which is the Reebok Pastor Gemeente, and a recognized captain in the person of Captain Jackie Brits. And we have just finished commemorating the Samkubas festival, where remembrance was paid to the heroism of those that have fallen, and also the celebration of faith in God and the covenant that the River Pastor community has ascribed with God. Therefore, we as the River community is glad and would like to once again thank those that organized such events so that our children can be able to know where they are coming from and also remember the history and celebrate where they are coming from, the values, cultures, and norms. Therefore, welcome to this meeting, councillors and technocrats and community of Rehoboth. From the onset, we'd also like to apologize for the swift change in our meeting schedule because of the obligations that are pressing. We were unable to communicate earlier that we would have this meeting at 11 o'clock. Therefore, we would like to apologize to the community for not informing them well in advance. With that said, we are set to start with the meeting, and we'll go to the first point, that is adoption of the agenda of the meeting of Council, OCM 11 May 2026. I would like to refer us to the minutes, the agenda as is, so that we can look at it and then alter or adopt it as such. If there is any new matters, it should also be mentioned from this onset so that we can continue. Is the agenda acceptable for all of us in the meeting? Are there any new matters that we would like to add to the agenda? None. CEO.
Thank you, Worship. I would like to request that I haven't seen it on the agenda that under point 10, report of the Management Committee referred to in section 26(1)(e) of the Act, 10.1, budget for the 2026-2027 financial year. And also under 11.2 Department of Finance, I assume, if I'm correct, 11.2.2 SLA agreement with NetVent submission.
Are these
That will be all, Your Worship.
submissions, are they part of the agenda? Are they included in the agenda that we received?
Yes, Your Worship.
Noted. I now invite for the adoption of the meeting agenda. Is there any proposal to adopt? From the councillors, Councillor Justin.
Your Worship, I propose for adoption of the agenda.
Any secondments?
Your Worship, I second. Sorry, toch.
Councillor Dara seconded. Therefore, the agenda has been adopted. Point 3, application for leave of absence and declaration of interest by members of council. 3.1, application for leave of absence. We'd like to acknowledge the absence of the chairman of the management committee. He might join us later during the day, but he has an absence of leave. Any other absence, all the councillors are present otherwise. Therefore, the declaration of interest by members, is there any interest that any councillors would like or administrators would like to declare? None. Therefore, we would continue to 4.4, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting of this council. 4.1, confirmation of minutes of the previous meetings of the council. OCM 08/04 2026 3/36.1. 4.1.1, minutes of ordinary council meeting held on 8 April 2026. We'll go through the minutes, and if there is, since we receive the agenda 72 hours, I would just like indicate the page number and then we'll continue. Page number 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11. Councillor Kutsia.
On page 11, Your Worship, under the portfolio councillors, under Fire Brigade, Emergency Service, Safety, Security, Disaster Management, Social Welfare, I believe my name is there. It should not actually be there because I said that it's in conflict of interest. So, if possible, can just remove my name from that portfolio, please. As a minute.
Noted, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor J. Kutsia must be removed from there. Why is the whole council there? Why is the whole council responsible for that portfolio? Who still wants to move out? Because it's all the councillors. I think around 2 or 3 can still, 2 can also be taken out. Councillor Dara and Councillor Keister. Then we have Councillor Swartz, Councillor Kavango, and Councillor Navasis. Noted. We continue to page 12, page 13, page 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 30. Councillor Kutsi.
Worship, may I propose that if we have anything, because it's 109 pages long, the minutes, so if there's anything that we want to correct, otherwise we can just go straight to the confirmation of minutes. So your worship is now only at 30. It's still a long way to go.
Councillor Kutsia, your suggestion is taken as we receive rightfully the agenda 72 hours before. So if there's any indication of where we want to alter the minutes, please let me know. Is there any? Going once, twice, taco. Then we move to the next point on the agenda, the adoption of the minutes. Who propose? Councillor Kaiser and Councillor Swartz. Official announcements, statements, and communication from the side of the Office of the CEO.
Thank you, Worship. I would just like to announce that the City of Windhoek has approved our request for a temporary fire chief as requested, and initially in terms of our initial agreement between the city and the Rehoboth Town Council. And Mr. Carlos Lowe will commence duty from tomorrow for a 3-month period in order to assist us at the fire station as a temporary fire chief. We have sorted out all the modalities. The agreement has been signed between the city and us, what the HR and all those other benefits that are supposed to be paid over. So we are awaiting the arrival of Mr. Lowe during the course of the day. If we are still busy with the meeting, I will bring him in for just to introduce him quickly for a minute or two to the councillors, and then he will commence his duty tomorrow. The other announcements that I would like to make, but it's only an invitation that we, the union, I was actually supposed to have a meeting with the union this morning, but they understand our request for postponement. We will have it tomorrow, 10 o'clock with the HODs. But then after the union is having a meeting also with the staff members, and the councillors are eagerly invited to attend that meeting because there are some pressing issues that the staff members want to hear directly from councillors apparently. I agreed initially only on the condition that if councillors are available to do that or not, but that is only an invite that councillors can consider on their own. That is probably all that I have, Your Worship, the Mayor.
Thank you so much. Mr. CEO, Councillor Dara, you were asking about the cleanup campaigns?
Through your worship, I just wanted to ask or inquire about the cleaning up campaign. Since we've launched it, I didn't hear something about it again. Where are we? With which blocks are we going to commence? And so on. Is there any clarity on it?
Your Worship, yes, I would like the councillor to have that question answered under point 9, if possible.
Councillor Dara, note that it would go to point 9. The other announcements that we have is that we have just completed our annual collaboration of the Jazz Festival. We would like to thank the community for their support during that day. It was a collaboration between the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Sport, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture in the River Town Council. It was a success, and we are planning to host one very soon also. And all the other announcements will come through in terms of that anticipated agreements. We should also announce that we are very concerned in terms of delivery of decent housing to our communities. I've initiated some meetings with various stakeholders, and we attended two. With First Capital, where First Capital is eager to come and assist us with the financing of bulk services, and so that we can build houses, decent houses, and elevate the pressure of our people from renting. Also, we had another one with NHE. NHE is also eager to come and assist. They will have their presentation about next week. We are also anticipating that we have housing in Daba, where we would invite these various organizations that finance housing in the country, and they would come and directly speak to the community members that are in need of decent housing. We have also a follow-up meeting of Development Bank of Namibia, which is on the 13th, in terms of servicing and financing bulk service provision. We have ample land, but the challenge is for the council to finance bulk services. Therefore, we have partnered up with these three organizations, and they will have this in Daba very soon, so that we can explain clearly to the community how they can benefit from these programs. Those are the announcements. They need to look and watch our social media pages for dates. If there's no other announcement and statement, we'd like to continue with the 6th point on the agenda: interview interpretations of persons summoned or requested to attend meetings of a council. We have none. Petitions, we have none. Motions of members, there was a notice in the last meeting, Councillor Justin. You gave notice last meeting.
Your Worship, I actually requested to say that we will first, because due to the activities that took place, some administrations were not available to discuss further the motion. So therefore I asked so that they can remove the motion. That's why it's not on the agenda.
Noted,
Thank you, Worship.
Councillor. Report answers to questions of members to which notice was given. Councillor Dara, you can repeat your question.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question was just about the cleaning up campaign that we launched. I would really just like to know how far are we with the cleaning up campaign? Where are we now? In which block are we? Are we continuing? And yeah.
So Dara, thank you for the question. We through the CEO to the PR.
Good morning, Your Worship, Deputy and Honorables. Yes, the cleanup campaign was launched to be an ongoing project, and currently, last week we've been at the town entrance, the main road areas, and this week they have to move to Block G. So I'll just confirm with the Health Division if the progress is still going. But we are experiencing challenges with the large heaps, removal of the large heaps due to equipment and a fleet and machinery. But we are working on it. But the cleanup campaign is an ongoing process.
Councillor Dara.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So then I would just ask also that when the launch was done, we said that as we are going with the blocks, a councillor, a specific councillor will also be responsible for a specific block. So I would just then ask that we take that in cognition also, and then to involve the councillors in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dara. I think in terms of that, also the community needs to know where we are cleaning. So there should be a structured plan as to, because 1 day per week we are cleaning in a certain block. So it's clean, that the theme is clean where you are. So we need to mobilize so that we know, all of us, the community together with the councillors, where we are cleaning. So a structured plan must be put out, in the community must know and the councillors must know, so that we can go and assist in those areas also. So we are awaiting that from the PR office. I think that will be what you expect. Thank you, Councillor. Is there any questions from the councillors in terms of point 9, answers to questions of members, which notice was given? Councillor Kutsia.
Your Worship, just a follow-up on our previous meetings. It's just a follow-up one on how far are we with the our prepaid meters, and then on the fact that our arrangements with the prepaid that we are at NemWater, how are we progressing with that one? But that we can just answer on under the reports. It's just for the CEO just to prepare for that answer at that time.
Noted, Councillor. We will. I think the CEO will answer in his report in terms of how far we are in the meters, both for NamPower and NemWater. 10 reports of Management Committee referred to in section 26(1)(e) of the Act. Now, before that, CEO.
Yes, thank you, Worship. If I may have to assist, this report is only dealing now with a budget approval that was done, a budget recommendation from the Management Committee. What I initially said, what we can do now, we can go into the exercise of putting a budget up for the presentation, so that we can go the presentation again as we did with the Management Committee, so that Council can see, and even the community on live streaming can probably have a view of how the budget looks like, because the budget is entirely on tariffs and on development. So what we are going to show, in the absence of Mr. Tron, we already prepared the budget. I'm having the presentation ready with me, so that we can go through it, and then if there's possible clarifications that we can need, because I was informed that Rian would have joined the meeting. Somebody from finance would have joined the meeting, so that if there are questions from councillors, they can probably also answer the questions while we are here, especially on the tariff issues. Because, and then I would like our camera crew to mostly slot in on the presentation here, so that the public can also see when we are dealing with these points, especially on the tariffs point by point and where some of the discussions are. But I also agreed, and also sort of not agreed, advised and said, maybe if there are some pressing issues or some of the members of the public would like to, when they see something or want to ask something, they can do it, and we will note it, whether it's applicable to the tariff structure, which we can probably answer now or at a later stage. That is now part of the presentation of the Management Committee towards the budget, if I may.
It's 10.1.
10.1.
It's a presentation by the technocrats to the council in terms of the budget.
Yes.
And then the budget will go out to the community for consultation. If approved here, the council will be presented the budget, and after this we will go out to the community, so that the community can have a say into the budget. For now, the presentation of the budget 2026 financial year. Yes, sir.
Can't we say that for the community side, for them to be active, can't we ask the chairperson of management, or the finance manager, or one of the finance people, make like a press release where they discussed in the budget to the community, so that it is more visible and more transparent, so that including whatever they ask questions on, how.
Yes, Councillor, The budget was presented to the management committee, and now it's in the second stage where it is presented to the council, and then it will go out for the community we will go to the various blocks to present the budget, and then the community will consult. It will be shown on a screen wherever we go, and it will be presented to the community, and that the community will have their inputs in the budget. So for now, it's a presentation to the council, but because of transparency, it will be shown also to the public, so that when we go, by the time we go to the public, they more or less know what is the budget, what the budget entails. Can you take a 5-minute break just to set up the presentation? Are you done? Can we be given a 5-minute break for the setup, please? Council.
Thank you, Worship. I was just waiting for Talita. Rian is apparently sick also, and Talita and Shirley will join, but along the way we'll just go on. It's not a problem. It was actually the budget presentation to the management committee, which the management committee looked at and recommended to council. Because of time, our budget are due to be in, as already directed by the Honorable Minister, to be in by the first week of May, but we said due to some stakeholder consultations and everything, we needed to make sure that once we submit the budget, it is a correct one. Because what we also experienced during the compilation of the budget, Your Worship, is that the deficit were a little bit high. And we needed to bring it down in terms of cutting some expenses, a lot of expenses, some cost, and especially on capital funding and the normal operational costs that we had to cut in order to bring it to a streamline. The council will also note that for the last, since 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, 25, 26, no tariff increases were made by the council apart from trading services. Trading services inter alia, non-power and non-water utility services was the only one that council decided to automatically bring in rates increases there because of the benchmarking of those companies that we had to endure. So these are the only ones, but during this time around, Council will note that there was changes in terms of tariff increases towards various services that we are delivering, and there were also tariff increases towards pensioner cuts that were in the past 3 years not adjusted to. So those tariff increases has also been adjusted in terms of the tariffs. I think those are more the bone of contention. And then there are some 1 or 2 or 3 new tariffs that we also had to impose. And we'll show Council where it is that the tariffs has been imposed. But for now, allow me to continue with the presentation. This is normally the mission, the vision, and the core values of the Council. Currently, as we are speaking, we are busy with the 5-year strategic plan of the Council. So it means that our mission and vision might slightly be adjusted in terms of the strategic workshops that are currently underway. We already completed the first stage of the strategic workshop with officials. The next round will be councillors, and then stakeholders will be included, which is businesses and the community as such. Then, as normally the introduction is to only indicate that we are responsible for financial accounting, management accounting, capital projects. And as we said, this presentation summarizes the proposed budget for the 2026-2027. It should have been corrected there. Financial year ending 30 of June. The operational budget comparison. Council will note that the total income of the budget in 2025-2026 was 397,179,114. It has decreased by 6%. We are now at 363 million in terms of the total income. There's a slight decrease. The same with the total expenditure, because that is why we said it's a zero-based budget that we are working on. The decrease, as we already mentioned, was prompted by the surplus, the deficit, that was a little bit high, and that we had to make sacrifices in terms of some expenses and some resources that we are not feasible to obtain. On the operational budget income, the revenue budget for 2026 decreased, as we said, was 6%. Rates and taxes actually increased with 9% due to the implementation of the 2013 valuation roll, and actuals achieved in excess of 17 million. The sale of land, as anticipated, decreased with 29% because sale of land is such a cumbersome item and we need to resolve it. It's a long process actually. So what we have done, we look at the sale of Erwin up to 5.4 million. We are still anticipating the land sale of Agra, which is 11 million. And I can still report that 2.4 million is already been paid by Agra, which is in a trust deposit currently. The trust deposit is only there to make sure that once the registration of the property went through, the whole funding will come to Raybor Town Council. So the sale of land, the Rio Green Scheme, is 6 million. That is currently submitted under correction, if Mr. Shiepo will assist me on that one. Was currently submitted to the Urban Planning Board for consideration on the layout and everything. Once it is done, we will be able now to see how the sale of land under the Rio Green Scheme can be initiated. The sale of land to Nansunga properties, and we are talking about the 61,000 hectares, or 71 hectares. Yes, 71 hectares. Which is still 1 million that was anticipated to come in. The sale of the private hospital is also included this time around because we also await from the Urban Planning Board and the registration of the property until the final payment can be made. They were already actually issued a PTO to the private hospital with the condition that they will be able to put up a deposit, but there are some bone of contentions that we are trying to sort out with the developer. So the total sale of land that we anticipate for this financial year is 24 million, almost 25 million. Can I continue?
CEO, what will the modus of operandi be? Are we going to ask questions as you go?
Yes.
All right. I would like to implore on this. Some of these things are coming every year into the budget. Agras and the Rio Green schemes, private hospitals. And sale of Erwin, I don't know where you're going to sell Erwin because we never sell Erwin. We are anticipating 5 million, but I don't know. Applications are in. People are applying every day for Erwin. But then the deliverance of this is not a priority because we don't get. I would like to see what did we get from the sale of Erwin for the past financial year, because I would like to know where did we sell Erwin, and that is for any local authority, the area which is supposed to make money, and we are failing dismally in that regard, because we are receiving a lot of applications for Erwin, but we don't really aggressively go out to seek financing to solve the bulk service provision challenge. So I don't know what is new. I would like to know what is new. What are you anticipating? How are we going to sell Erwin? And two questions. One is, how much did we sell last year? And now, what are you going to do to be able to sell Erwin? Because you're anticipating 5 million, and that 5 million might not come.
Thank you, Worship. I will just introduce this. I'm glad that Properties is also here. It's Mr. Max. Yeah. The only thing is what normally happen is with our partners, such as the development workshop, we were able to acquire a huge portion of land where we introduced selling of land in that area, and people applied. And there are customers who are busy with development workshop who are paying off the value of those lands, because I think it's 15,000 one erf or more or less. And it's on an installment basis that these people can pay off this property, but they are working currently through development workshop. Those are one of the aspects that we are looking at, only one of them that I'm currently mentioning. And as for now, the services that are trying to be put in by the development workshop is somewhat slow, because of the fact that applicants, some of them did not pay the full Erwin up, some of them are still trying to seek funding to pay off the Erwin. And that is delaying the process in terms of registration. That is to be honest. The only thing that we as a council have won so far is with the alienation project process, where 29 million has been, as a deficit has been written off through government, and where people can now register their properties. This is also at a slow pace in terms of how we perceive the Erwin to be registered, but so far, if I'm under correction, we have almost registered more than 100 Erwin, which out of the 609, which is also at a slow pace, I agree. But that is not a sort of a income profit margin for the council currently, because it was money that has been written off, and we are still struggling to see how we are able to compensate for the amounts that has been written off through treasury and so forth. Then the others are normally the ones that individual customers are coming in, obtain approval to have Erwin, and then they are sort of hampered, or the barrier is normally the deed of sale, where we say you pay 33% as a deposit and the rest have to be paid off in 90 days, almost in a 3-month period. Most of the people are not in the condition or in the state to pay off that because of unemployment. Some have difficult with salaries, how they perceive the salaries to be paid and all those kind of things. But we also said one of the conditions is also we probably have to look at the deed of sale. Instead of saying, okay, you can pay off the 33% as a deposit, which is a standing rule in terms of housing, then the payment period can probably be increase in terms of the month, or the 90 days can be increased, but still it will not allow our community to pay on time. That is one of the reasons why we found it difficult to register most of our properties. Developers as such, there is also another issue. Companies like Agra, private hospital, I will not talk about Nansunga, because currently they are on par with what they are promised to do. And they are doing the services, they are putting in the services, they are busy with the council on a steering committee that we are having currently. and we can see some progress there. But when you come to Agra and a private hospital, the council resolution clearly said you pay the amount after ministerial approval. Ministerial approval has been obtained, and we obtained most of our ministerial approvals we obtained. But then when we had to conclude the deed of sale, the developer comes normally with nitty-gritty issues. This issue has to be resolved, the other issue has to be resolved. With the Agra, it's a long-standing issue of town planning. And town planning is very cumbersome. Town planning issues has to be handled, and the deed of sale which we entered with him clearly indicates that, yes, we pay the deposit, but you will only pay the rest of the amount once the property has been registered, which is not part of the ministerial approval. And that is one of the things that we always hampered of restraint of, is when council took a resolution, then the developer or the individual who purchased the land now come with other conditions to the council and say, no, I'm not prepared to pay this now, I need to have this in place or that in place. And it also keeps us in the lurch, because we are trying our level best to see that properties are given to people at a specific time. That is why we also say it's better to sell properties when they are serviced completely. If you don't have service land, it's always difficult to sell it off. And the demand for land in Riebeeck is so big. Our waiting list is sort of outdated nowadays. We have done various structures in terms of looking at how we can push the waiting list to be shrink, at least to be decreased by means of asking those that are receiving a salary with a pay slip, a constant salary, where we can see that we give those people preferences, which we did. But eventually, no one come and said, I'm prepared to pay off the full balance on my ERF. We had the issue of Samstan, for instance, where council went on and said, this is an amount of ERF we are going to give you in the Ban-Off area, pay it off to a certain extent, but then the communication between council and Samstan was not clear from the onset. That once you apply for unserviced land and apply against a rate, there is only a rate without services, then it means you are responsible to put in the services. Now the owners came back to the council, the developers or the community is saying that, no, you must first also service the land. How can you service a land if you receive an amount of 12,000 per ERF, while servicing of land is almost 100,000? But I agree with you, it's not that we'll definitely meet that target at all, because of the many issues and criteria and the scenarios that are in our way to do that. And that is the unfortunate part, Your Worship.
CEO, so we are agreeing that we have crisis in the housing division. What I would, as I have advised in the beginning, it is we have people that can afford to buy and pay for the urban, but the council is failing to deliver, service land. Therefore, we need to look at ways, and in the next 2-3 months, to get at a turnaround strategy as to these partnerships that we are forming with these institutions. How are we going to we need to sit and get a strategy out as to how we're going to deliver, because the state of region address is soon. In this year, we are going to again report no new houses are built. So that is for me, because I know of people that applied every day. They are sending me texts every day. I'm applying, but we are just acknowledging the applications. So therefore, I would really, the councillors responsible for housing, please look at a meeting, a very serious meeting with properties, and also look at how you can connect the financiers of the people that want the housing, so that we can really deliver on housing. Because every year we cannot just say, the other problem that I have is rates and taxes. We are not collecting rates and taxes optimally in this town. In that, this town is very efficient, should have been efficient in terms of that. We are able to pay our dues. If everyone is on par every person in the town pays rates and taxes. So can we focus on these areas where we are not maximally gaining what is owed to the council, and discuss this point internally, and also put out a plan of action as to how we are going to deliver on service land. Use the opportunities and the courtesies that I've initiated with this various housing financing partners, and expedite on delivering of houses, decent housing. NHE on Friday also said, if we have formal settlements where there is water and electricity and other sewer, all the services like Block E, where you have Erva, that location called Ervan and Banov Ervan, there is shacks. They are saying we can come and build houses for them individually also, or as a group. We can also, once we finish with Burgershoek and Volkshuisvlakte, also engage NHE to build decent housing. But this needs leadership and initiation and innovation, and that should be done aggressively. Councillor Justin.
Your Worship, perhaps the portfolio councillors of housing and property can just discuss, so that before, because we still have time to sit with the town planner, which is Mr. Freddy, and just see that how we can remedy the case and what is the actual budget that we will need, so that budget can also come up there. So that we can also say, we had a land conference before, but there will be no problem, Your Worship, if we can continue doing another land conference just to follow up with the stakeholders again, so that we can just see how they can assist us, the other stakeholders can assist us, and then we can discuss about pricing and everything, and so that we can just come up with solutions rather than just say a lot of resolutions, but rather proper solutions to say what is the way forward. Because what I heard from the CEO is the fact that we are struggling a bit with certain services that we have to provide. So the servicing is our part. It's not the land, it's actually the servicing. And then from Mr. Freddy's side, what I've heard from him in the previous times is the planning, when you have to go and submit to the urban planning board. But I believe there's a leeway they gave us now for local authorities, which the minister, the exemption. Okay. So can we prepare then before that time, Your Worship? Then we prepare, so when the exemption comes, we are already prepared to benefit from this exemption for the housing delivery. But I hear you, Your Worship, but we can start, at least we can start with that project.
Thank you. Can you continue?
Just to add on it, Your Worship, you will notice that we didn't put up the NHE provision there. NHE came to council in 2023-24, and we initially said they were looking for service land. We said we don't have service land, and they opted to take 100 Ervan in extension 7, I think, unserviced land. That is why we never opted to put them in, because they never came back with an actual plan what they are intending to do. But we are still open for these discussions if they want to.
Mr. CEO, NHE is eager. They were waiting for our approval. In fact, when I follow up of the meeting, they said they are waiting for ministerial approval, I think. That's what they said but the discussions was now moved from us to the technocrats. So Mr. Shiwebo knows he will now communicate with Mr. Shilongo at NHE. What is the other part that we also need to look at for NHE is they have various programs, and so does First Capital. What I'm trying to say is let's aggressively grab those opportunities and work with them and deliver on decent housing, because our people need housing. We need housing.
Okay,
Perhaps we must say on the budget we have to prioritize on low cost, ultra low cost, middle class and high class, so that we can just, because I was part of that meeting when we had it in Mariental with NHA. So if they bring services, then the prices, like what the CEO just mentioned, then the pricing will go up like to 130, 150. That time it was 130,000 per ERF. So we just have to see where we can, like what Your Worship also said. So perhaps we must just break it, all these projects of housing delivery, into different sectors, and then tackle each one of them by time.
Yes.
in phases.
I think what we also need to offer is our community is very choosy as to the locality where they would want to live, and we need to respond to that also, because when we offer extension 7, someone and it's surrounded by informal areas, a person that is young and striving to later sell the house will find it difficult to buy there. So we have looked at with NHA all options when we were discussing it on Friday with them. We were looking at, they were also saying, while this project is, we are waiting for this project, we can start with other projects. So there's a really much possibility that we can discuss. And we should also look at areas where it's affluent, where young people would really want to buy a house, and later when they want to move, easily sell the house. But now the 100 urban that we are offering to NHE is surrounded by informal settlements. So how do I really want to buy a house there? So that should also be considered when we avail land to people. What is the market? Because we have people that are renting and paying 6,000 per month. Now, when they're paying 6,000 per month, they are able to pay a payment. Is it a payment? What installment for their own house? But then you are offering as a council in Blakisdorp, NHA houses. They will not be able to buy. So we need to look as a council as also to where do we offer them these institutions lent. So, but I understand what you're saying, CEO, and we will discuss. We've just opened doors as councillors. We opened the doors to the financial institutions and we were so surprised by what they are offering. So now it's on the onus of the technocrats to take it and aggressively so that it can, the deliverance of these projects must be done now. We also take note of most of our projects in the housing division is due to the urban planning board. And what we also engage is that we need an urgent meeting with the minister to expedite these, because some of our applications are 3 years in that board. We need to go as councillors to the minister and to say, release these things, let the people work on it, get us approval so that we can deliver on land and housing. Can you continue with the budget? Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. You will notice that we have also put up a comparison between the type of incomes for 2025, 2026, 26, 27, where we said look at the sale of electricity in 2025 is 101 million, 2026 111 million, only a difference of 456,000 being a 0.1% on the sale of electricity, which is actually, and the sale of water.
We are there. Why are we anticipating such a small increase while we are putting in prepaid electrical meters as well? Because my understanding is that the more we put in prepaid, the more profit we are anticipating. Why is it such a small scale?
The increase on the electricity.
Yes, the sales.
We are looking at the actuals of the previous financial year or the current financial year to dates that we are working on. And we are just cautious enough not to engage into putting a lot of increases which we'll probably not get. And that is what we are anticipating. We currently, especially on this one, we currently are not very sure what will the increase of the NAM-Power side would be. The same with the water, what will the increase of the NAM-Water side would be. So we anticipate to stay on the safe side rather than go on. That is why if there's any increases that will probably influence the whole budget, a revised budget will definitely be done in order to make sure that we anticipate or include those adjustments to the revised budget. But this is only on the actuals that we are trying to be, and on the practical or the actual incomes that we are trying to derive the budget from in order to stay within the parameters of the deficit, not to go beyond the one that we are anticipating.
There will be a midterm review of the budget, I believe. But what I need to say also is that the councillors are going to report from next meeting, next OCM, on their portfolios. Because we need to push to a professional setting whereby people are held accountable for their for their portfolios. So it will start with the councillors. So the councillors will now look at where are they responsible for electricity. If they are responsible for electricity, then they need to make to hold the electrical division accountable to make the profit that they promise on the budget. Because if we don't hold each other accountable, we are not going to achieve. Sometimes when you come to work, some people will just come to work, sit, and there is no set target for that month or for that day or for that week, and we don't achieve anything. So targets must be set, starting with the councillors, us as councillors, I'm including myself, and from there, it should trickle down from the CEO to the various divisions and the managers, because the sense of just coming to work must stop. We must target for a month, for a week. Each divisional head must target a certain thing, certain achievement, set a certain target for certain workers, because I need to report. People are going to workshops. It's in the same line. I'm not diverting you from the budget. But these are the amounts that we get if we don't do these things. What I'm trying to say is people are going to workshops. I'm going to a workshop as a manager, Mr. CEO, this week. Next week, I came back from the workshop, and then I'm going to another one. When am I implementing the one that I've attended last week? And then I'm going to 4 workshops. And after those workshops, we are not implementing what we learned. So at a certain point, we must have, and I've been repeating that since I was an ordinary council to Cassandra. I was saying there should be a training plan for this council, because I cannot just come today and decide, oh, Lutheran's councillors are going to Habasep. Send me an invitation. There should be a plan of training and an objective for that specific training, whereby we are saying this is our plan and the objective is this. Why I attend this workshop? Because we are attending workshop as councillors, as technocrats, but the fruit of that is not coming to us. And that is the result of why. Because if everyone goes out and collect the revenue, if properties and finance is in sync, and the properties are going out to collect the build together houses, for instance, that are not paying, and these monies are coming to the finance, then we will break even, or even above. But if we are not just coming to work, sit behind the table, go to a workshop, come back, do not implement, then our budget will look like this. Let's continue, please.
Thank you, Worship. May I also report that currently workshops for the quarter of January up to now were only one that ended last week, and we are still awaiting that report for, especially on technocrats. Most of the attendings to meetings, to report and all those kind of things, but I agree with you, Worship. You will notice also that on the sale of water, there's also a minus 0.74% decrease, which we anticipate because we are staying within the parameters of the actuals. We are not wanting to blow everything out of proportion in terms of the prepaid water meters that was put in to say now we are gaining, because we have not even started with a 70-30% ratio that we are planning to do in terms of that one. So definitely a revised budget might still be conducted. On the assessment rates, we have only an increase of 2.5% to stay within the parameters of the interim valuations that we are anticipating, because we have only now started with a new valuation role, the process for the new valuation role for the next 5 years, which will tremendously have an influence on the council. Now that we are having this one, we are only working on the 2013 financial 2030 valuation role, which we are trying to push through. That is why we rather stay on the safe side in terms of the parameters of 2.5% increase that we are anticipating, which will eventually increase tremendously once the valuation role are concluded. Refuse removal, also the same with the 2.5% increase. Why? Because we are still struggling to look at our own refuse initiative in terms of skip containers, wheelie bins, what is the trucks that we are trying to acquire to make sure that that we rather remain, and also to look at the other areas, such as the informal areas, that we wish to include, but we are still working on that data to see how we are going to anticipate including them in our budget. But that is why we even said on the sale of land, which we agree with Your Worship, the Mayor, it's a minus 29.5% decrease, because the longevity of selling land, having it registered and all those things is playing a deep role. It's no need to inflate the budget if you are not sure about the real issues on the ground. And we rather stay in those parameters of making sure that we are talking about the real issues and not something else. The sewerage increase is a 0.9% increase on sewer, which we anticipate with the new extensions that we are planning and the new areas that we have to put up sewer will also be increased at some stage. Our pump stations are currently maintained at a certain level, because once if you look at pumps, especially submersible pumps, the ones that you are putting in the water, they have a time span, and once they come to a certain time span, they don't want to work anymore. And that is where you will notice at Block A, the pump station at Block A, the one of Kuvukile and all those. We in the past had a lot of problems with the one in Block C. But that one has been revamped at such a stage that it's, I hope I'm not triggering it to especially during the winter months, to come to a certain stage and say, I'm not prepared to work anymore. But this is what we are saying, the increase in sewer is only 0.98%. I also explained, or we also explained during our budget presentation, that councillors should understand that these tariffs are not thumb suck. We are looking at the density and the capacity of using. Because to determine a sewerage tariff, you look at the consumption of water that people are wasting. And the tariff normally put up is 65% of water. Because we are not drinking, we are only drinking almost 35 or 30% of water that we are using for drink. The rest of the water, 65 to 70%, we are wasting. And that is why we had to calculate the sewerage consumption into that one. Unless we are looking at purification plants at the oxidation ponds that we are trying in the near future to put up. The issue of townlands, we anticipated a 0.8% increase in terms of outstanding amounts that we are receiving. Currently, townlands is more than 12 million that is in arrears with townlands. But we are looking at what we can achieve during the current financial year, not the whole amount, because we'll never get to that stage.
Mr. CEO, the townlands we have, the council has instructed that we need to look at how we can optimally get funds from townlands. How far are we of that process? Because that influences the budget. Because we said we need to go and audit. We need to go see who is there legally, who is paying and who is not paying, and then we need to take action. That will influence our collection of revenue from townland. How far are we of that process?
The management committee initially agreed with the technocrats that for now we really need to look at a independent person to do a proper townlands audit or land audit that we are calling it. But we want to divert or differentiate between land audit, bring out townlands on its own, where we have to conduct a townlands audit on our own. The Ministry of Agriculture have assisted us the last financial year with looking at the capacity and carrying capacity of the townlands. But what we haven't looked at the general residential the demographics of how many people are there and what they are doing. So this time around, we want the consultant, as we may call it, to look at everything. Look at the size of the land. Look at the carrying capacity of every. Look at how many people are on each land. What are they doing? We notice some of the residents that are there are just there to stay there. Others are there to do both farming and trying to farm. There are others who do things to maintain the fences and the equipment on their own. And those are the things that we want the consultant to look at initially. We also have to look at generational farmers, because there are people that have been born and stayed there forever. And they feel that it's an area, it's a home that they can stay on. So these are the things that, and then the person must come and make a proper recommendation. Council will remember that we said in the past, like in Camp 19, those people have formed a committee on their own. Committees are essential in townlands, where every camp can have their own committee, which can report to the townlands division and maybe to the portfolio councillors, where what they are doing, what the concerns are, and how we can try to. And now, as we are sitting, that is why we said the increase is only 0.87%. There's still a moratorium on the townlands where we cannot take in new applications. Once council has considered to revise that or adjust that, we will try to see how many means we can impose in it, because we still have, I don't like to call them illegal tenants, but that is what they are. People are there still illegally, people just go in, other tenants are complaining, but our hands are somewhat tight. And we are currently busy to capacitating that office to make sure that we get the people with the right mind and right set to run the office so that we can. Currently, those two guys, they are doing the level best, but it's not enough. Worship.
Councillor Kutsia.
Your Worship, since the previous council, I've really asked a lot and went into the sale of electricity and the sale of water, which is supposed to be our main highest incomes for the council. If we can honestly, because we're having a lot of people coming from Windhoek, they are commuting between Windhoek and Rehbosch, but they are coming in. And our population is growing, but our electricity megawatt supply, we have to increase that, ask for Nampower to increase that, first of all. With the money that we receive on electricity to improve the infrastructure with the current situation where we are now, with that process, I believe that if we can give that water and electricity attention this first year, if we can get that correct, and we can with the solar systems and the people that already applied for that, with even what is his name, our engineer Joachim, what Joachim also proposed with the battery system and everything. Your Worship, if we can start with that and we improve our electricity and we improve our water, the revenue will change so that we can subsidize the others with that revenue in order to improve other areas which we can improve then and also get proper income and especially on the raffles removal, which can also bring us a lot of money in because we are growing as a population. But currently we are struggling just to be on par. Soos ons sê, ons kop is net bo water. Ons is besig eintlik om te verdrink, want ons hou net alles net op in die gangen. And we can't operate like that. Somehow we have to recognize that the council also that yes, it's true we are providing services to the community, but we are a business. And we have to maintain and manage it like a business. So we have to improve and we have to bring in certain things so that we can optimize and start delivering as a council to the people. But the water and electricity, if I can say this in Afrikaans because I just want to express myself, if it's okay with your worship. As ons nie die krag op die standaard bring, want die krag is so duur, om nou as 'n nuwe instansie nou krag moet aansluit. Die mense kan dit nie bekostig, die mense complain en sê dit is duur om 'n koneksie van die paal af in te sit. Want dit is hoe die damage, die stelsel is, die lyne en goed is en die kragkabels is duur. En die geld wat ons moet generate, even moet daar ingaan, moet daar na toe gaan en die ander goede kry nie aandag nie van hier om net die krag en die water aan te hou kos vir ons meer geld as wat ons eintlik inkry. So dit is hoekom ons moet regtig kyk om saam met die soos voorheen gesê, saam met die erfsales moet ons kan sit rondom hierdie goede, maar ons moet ook eerlik wees en oop wees om te sê dat ons is te groot vir die hoeveelheid krag wat ons gebruik. Ons sal nie die kabel sal bly en brand, dit sal nie werk nie. Ons moet regtig goeie beplanninge maak. En een van die oplossings is die batterysisteem wat Joachim gesê het met die solar sisteem sodat ons aankoopprys by Nampower minder is want ons het mos nou die solar en die battery. Sodat ons daai verskil wat ons profit maak, wat ons voorkoop, daai verskil kan ons nou gebruik om vinniger en beter structures op te sit in die krag in en daarvan af kan ons dan nou meer geld generate van die krag. Van ons krag ons is nie ons behoort nie om op 11 miljoen te staan nie. Die dorp met so 'n populasie behoort ons eintlik om oor die 20 miljoen te verdien. Maar nie 11 miljoen nie. As 'n maandelikse inkomste. So dit wys ons net hoe agter is ons en hoe dilapidated is die system. So ons moet daaraan aandag gee. Om enige ander ding ook aandag te gee, sal nie nou eers wys is nie. Kom ons gee eers die water en krag aandag. Dat dit ons grootste prioriteit is, dan kan ons die ander goed aandag gee soos ons geld kry. Dankie.
Thank you. We take note. I think that is a contribution that, I think there is a submission that was made in that regard. So we will look, I think the last year, I think in our final meeting, there was a submission from the consultant. We'll look at it. The DM.
Your Worship, I think we always just speak about the consumers in different blocks, but we always forget, should I say, if I may say, about Burgershoek and Volstruisvlakte. There are thousands of people that can really contribute, even if it's $100 or $200 per month, that we can, and we must also give attention to them so that we can get more money, so that we can get out of our debt. Thank you, Your Worship.
Noted. Okay, now we continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Worship. Where is it now? Yes, now we come to operational budget. We are looking at the expenditure budget for 2026-2027. We note
Before we go there, Sats kan ngaro dikin kwa. Kan. Now we are in a councillors. We are in an opportune time of people acting. It's a very good time. Mr. CEO, we would really want to retain our people that are acting in various positions. That was now, because of the strategy of our structure that was realigned, they are now acting. But they should be rest assured that they will not be promoted into those positions if we don't see anything. It should be very clear. These 3 months and 5 months and 6 months you are acting and you are not doing anything worthwhile, where as the council we can say, no, but we must retain that person. So in every portfolio, because before you go to the capital expenditure, I need to close off that first part. If a person is acting and a person is having only brilliant plans on paper, and this doesn't trickle down to our core mandate, which is to provide services to our people, quality services, and we don't see a turnaround in that division, we should not, as council, be held responsible for not appointing you in that position. So this is a call to all those that, due to the structure, was put into acting places, that if you don't perform, we are going to advertise externally. So people need to take note, and people need to, those that are acting need to take note that they are their own resumes. They are the last part that we would look at in the valuation scale as to why we should appoint you is your performance while you are acting. What did you do? What turnaround strategy? Because you, the council employees are very comfortable in their positions. And we don't want to, really want to work eagerly and innovatively to change things in the division because you are at a comfort zone. But I can assure you, Mr. CEO, we will not extend acting if we don't see one success at least of a program or something that you are running, not the plans on paper, but the action of what you are doing in that offices. So we as the council will hold you accountable, and you must, because some people, if you are not here, you are acting. And if you are not here, and there are people in your office, and we go to ask for something, the people in that office is telling us, no, but Mr. and Mrs. who is not here. And the whole work stops. And the whole council does not function because you are on this or that workshop. And your office cannot function in your absence. So it is a clear message. If you are acting and you are not performing, we don't see any difference. Because you can be acting, but while you are acting, we need to see the difference that you are implementing now as a leader. Because like you were previously someone that were now just working, but now you have a responsibility. And we want to see tangible results that will filter down to our communities. So if that is the yardstick for either appointment or extension. So you can have the brilliant ideas, but if nothing is coming from it, we will, after your acting period, advertise the post. Please take note.
Thank you, Worship. As I've mentioned, the expenditure budget for the 26-27 overall decrease was 10.63%. So this decrease was also caused by the allocation of our external funding from and National Planning Commission and MOORT. We are only bound to receive 500,000 Namibian dollars for capital projects. That is all that we are going to. And if you look at our capital expenditure, it's 94 million. Meaning that 94 million must be looked at an internal funding, because we have two stages of funding, external and internal. The only external funding that we are sure that we'll get is a 500,000 and the 4.3 from road fund administration on the roads. Meaning that the rest we will have to fork out ourselves somewhere. And if we are not able to do it, we will not be able to attend to our capital budget, which is already a huge load on our burden. May I continue? Your Worship.
It is really disappointing if you look at the national allocation to Rehoboth, which is a town of more or less 50,000 people, just to receive 500,000 for a capital funding. Therefore, we need that's why it becomes very strict on the ways how we have to collect our revenue. Every opportunity must be about collecting revenue, because we are a business. And we need to go and appeal to the government as leaders to tell the government we cannot be allocated 500,000 to do what with. We cannot even tar a road. What can you do? You cannot even build 1 3-bedroom house for 500,000. So we need, as leaders, as councillors, to go and appeal to the government to say, improve our funding. Because what are we going to do with 500,000? So the community must also understand that we only receive 500,000. Dis 'n rand vir elke inwoner in ons dorp. So it's very sad. And we will go and appeal to the government, central government.
Unfortunately, Your Worship, we also have to acknowledge that once the ministry, as per a directive, is asking for information in order to, like the last time with the pensioners, the OMAs that are owing us, when they need this information, and I'm appealing to the technocrats also that we need to submit this information on time. And that is really one of the scenarios that led to us also being degraded and saying, you don't submit the things on time, we'll just give you what we think you have on paper and that's it. And then also the amount of money that was written off, 26 million was written off as a debt to Rehoboth Town Council. And somehow, some way, if we don't try to put motivation in mitigating statements towards that debt and said, but we have 26 million that was written off, how are you possible now to cover us for that thing without putting our plans in place? And we indeed, Rehoboth Town Council, have plans in place for infrastructure, which we continuously put on the table, but we need to mitigate it strongly. And I will definitely use that, means, Your Worship, through the legal office, that we are going to push it, whether the other departments are not going with it. We're just going to push and say, this is what we received from you, this is a debt was written off, and we need you to at least substantiate or subsidize the debt for us in order for us. And we'll just put our expenditure plan on, our infrastructure plan on the table. Yes. Then we, as a provision, we need in terms of the law, a 5% assessment rates to the regional council. Currently, we are standing at 959,000. And as a council, we really need to consider this date. I tend to disagree with some of my colleagues sometimes that says that, yeah, the 5% must go to the regional council, but what are they doing to us or for us? That is not a substantiating factor. The fact is the law provides that 5% must go to the regional council, because once you pay that over to the regional council, it doesn't mean that the regional council will be forced to do anything for you. It's only that you are paying a licensing fees, in my view. And the regional council will automatically look in their own budgetary provision how they will assist local authorities wherever they can. But as a minister also the other time alluded to that, once we need information or assistance, we just have to ask from the regional council, and they will definitely see how they can assist us. But the 5% is part of the budget that we need to pay to the regional council. Then we have a provision for natural disasters. The 2 million has been put aside for natural disasters, which in my view sometimes is not enough. Because if you've seen the natural disasters that happen in a short span of period, it's a lot. But luckily, River is part of the national regional disaster management team, which are constantly on WhatsApps and emails, are making communication with each other. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Then capital projects budgeted for the 2026-27 financial year, and that councillors have to take note that these are projects amounting to plus minus 80 million major projects, which are as follows, and these are internal funding on these projects. Prepaid electricity meter project, okay, that one is funded by MOORT. The prepaid water meter project still funded by MOORT. The layout of new extensions, the ones that we have just indicated. Parks, street lights, construction of services, which is normal. We have one park, for instance, that we are looking at in terms of I think it was almost 16 million, 6 or 16 million that we were anticipated there. Construction of open markets 2 and 3, which are still outstanding, one in Block E that we still need to give attention to. Our upgrading of our ICT infrastructure, because we cannot rely continuously on security services. Once we have our ICT services in place and our network services in place, we'll be able to trace anything that is going in and out from this institution. The transformer replacement, and on electricity, it's on the network. Most of the transformers, power outages that we are receiving a lot is also of the time spent on transformers. Just for information's sake, to purchase a transformer or procure a transformer will take up to 1 to 6 weeks, because the transformer has to be put together manually in order to come before it can be dispatched to the institution. Upgrading of reticulation, this is a normal reticulation that we are looking on, especially on the ones that are not budgeted for in terms of NBT. Townlands impound facility, that is one of the recommendations or the submissions also on the table now, that we are looking at an impounding facility. Procurement of new vehicles, that one I don't need to explain myself. Nowadays, councillors are also riding in Mahindras, which is not supposed to be the case. And then the normal tools and equipment that we need for our artisans on working on the streets and so forth. Anything else?
We can continue.
The capital projects, still an own funding capital projects amounting to 80 million, as we said. The Rio Spa Phase 3. We are currently sitting with a quote from one of the suppliers for the upgrading or the revamping of the swimming pool. And then the bungalows that we are doing it with small. And I have to mention here, we are using the bungalows, we use small, or what do we say, SME contractors in town. Individual SME contractors. And that has been a success story, if I can say that. It has worked well. One or two mishaps, but it worked well. Fencing of R851 Block A, the council offers this fencing needs to be taken care of because we have a lot of, burglaries happening here while our securities is also here sometimes. But while they are here, cables are being stolen. Then we have the valuation role that we are implementing right now. The IGIS web-based system that the IT is working on. And as we've mentioned, the external fund, the council has been allocated 500,000 through MTF and the 4.3 million from RFA for the upgrading and maintenance and construction of roads. Those are the roads that have already been planned. The bids is already out. The BEC is due to give the final indication, Sally. The BEC is done, eh? Okay, we are still only waiting for the BEC report on the upgrading of road. I think the councillors would know what roads are we talking about. If not, kindly ask now that we can explain to the council what is the roads in the absence of the technical manager will really assist us.
I also ask you to implore the opportunity of, or the option of buying rather fleet than fixing those roads. I look at Rundu. Rundu has a vehicle that RFA have bought for them. That report I did not get because I don't believe that we fix a tarred road and then we are unable to maintain the internal roads because of the challenges that we have in terms of machinery and fleet. We don't have tractors, we don't have graders, we don't have, and then it means that we are not able to provide quality roads to our internal roads, to our communities. And we are fixing one road, that is the main road. So I really want you, before we can embark on this tender, I've said that 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, go and write a letter to RFA and say this is what we are proposing. We want to use the funds that you allocate for this year because it is only 500,000 or whatever it is. It is not enough to tar a new road. So I've asked through the CEO's office that we go and talk to RFA to say to RFA, we cannot upgrade a road to a tarred road with the funds that you are allocating that we have now. But can we not use these funds to buy equipment such as graders, such as lorries, to maintain the internal roads? Because I think for me it makes sense to also every month get a general maintenance of these internal roads. And you are saying, no, it cannot happen. But I want it to be written to RFA and RFA answering on paper, it cannot happen. That's so that I can understand it cannot happen. That is my, before you go to the advertisement and allocating the tender to rehabilitate a road, let's look at that option. That's my plea. So that it doesn't have to just rehabilitate one road. Rather, if we can use the funds to just buy equipment. So explore that before we continue with that, with the tenders in the whatevers for that road rehabilitation. And let RFA now say on paper, no, tell you, Mayor, it cannot happen. We are not supposed to fund that. But I believe it's about maintaining roads. And that's what we are supposed to do if we have the fleet. CEO,
Bishop, yes, I will even ask procurement to help me on that one, but just under correction, it was Katima Moliro Town Council that received, because they have a department like that. Probably if we also had a department like that, we could have received a vehicle, but still it is an option that we can look at. Say, rather give us the money to buy equipment, but once what RFA normally do is they send us already a fixed template budget formula on what we must budget on. And they only indicate roads there. They don't indicate equipment or whatever it is. But we will venture into that one. I think even if the bid or the BEC is done with the bid, it doesn't mean it's a final stage. We can still look at other means and report back quickly. Yes, can I continue?
Sure.
Now we come to the one of terrace, and I will probably ask my colleagues of the water and Lalita to assist me on that one. We, on the terrace for the 2026-27 financial year, and these are tariffs that was put up with a compilation of all the departments, with the concerted effort by all the departments when they were here, and everybody gave their input. That is what I even said at the last admin meeting, that once we have to explain this to the council or whoever, all of you must be there to explain your tariffs. Because not all the tariffs are from the office of the CEO. You are the ones who put up the tariffs and you want it to be done accordingly. You will note on the water residential consumption in cubic meter, the existing residential tariffs is there. We had an increase of 10% on each of them, meaning that water from $23.18 will go up to $25.50. It's I think it's if Talita can assist me, it's due on the sliding scale, if I'm correct. It's on the sliding scale, meaning that the amount of water that you use, you will be charged for. Now, what some residents don't understand mostly is once you are on 2318, let's look at the current one. Once you are on 2318 and you use a certain cubic meter in terms of 2318, once you're starting using more, you go into another bracket of 2485. It means that if you use up to, say, for instance, 10 cubic meter on the 2318, if you start using 11, that one is now calculated on $24.85. It means you are now in another bracket. Once you exceed that bracket, you go to another bracket. And that is why people sometimes have to understand, if they complain about the huge bills, if you have to look at your consumption reality and what you are actually consuming. But the tariffs were prompted, as I said from the beginning, that for the utility services, we always need to stay beyond the benchmark of NAMWater and above the benchmark, of NAMWater and NAMPower. If they charge a certain amount, we have to stay. If they charge $21 per cubic, we have to stay at least at 23 or 25 in order to make that provision where we have to be able to make a profit, not a profit, because water and electricity in the actual sense are trading services. It's not profitable services, it's trading. You trade something for something else. So in order to get that water, we must buy a certain amount and then get a little bit of amount out to maintain the network that we are currently having. And that is what we need to understand. We have looked at the pensioners. On the pensioner side, you will notice on the pensioner side, the existing one is 1554, a 17.5% increase has been accorded on the sliding scale, bringing it up to 1826. And then you have to be responsible enough in terms how you use water. I think it's the first time that we are looking at the pensioner side now. And this, unfortunately, His Worship the Mayor and the Chairperson of the Management Committee will also have to explain in the later stage to the community. But we will there to support you, to make sure that those ones who are responsible to collect those money will be able to explain also why are we doing these things. There is a first slide, Your Worship. If we have to contemplate, you will notice on this side here, it's a sliding scale of 1 to 20. The consumption of 1 to 20 is 2318. 21 to 36, 2485. It's the same with the one for the pensioners and the disabled.
Do you have pointers? Don't you have pointers on the screen?
I have a pointer in the office.
No, then point. Let's continue.
Oh, this one. I can even point there.
Let's continue on the next slide.
Yes, and then we have water for the business. The proposed tariffs, you see, it's also on a sliding scale 1 to 10. It's 25.97, 15% increase, taking it up to 29.87. The same for goes up. The responsibility is on your side, but you will notice it's a 15% increase that we are anticipating for now. Then we have basic charges and other for water. The basic charge residential is 112. It went up with a 5%. It's 117 now. basic charge pensioners disabled, there was no charge. Now it's a new one. We decided to bring in a basic charge for pensioners also, bring it up to 23.59. That's a basic charge for pensioners.
Why is it immediately is that large an amount? Because we did not have, and now we are immediately starting with 23.
Worship, if you notice, the basic charge in comparison with a normal resident is 112 Namibian dollars. For pensioners being a new charge, it's only 23. It's a fraction or a third of that amount that we are trying to charge a normal residential. So it's comparatively very fair actually. But that's something we can still debate on.
Yeah. Are you fine with the pensioners?
Your Worship, you will notice that all the other increases on the business, basic charges for business up to industrial is only an increase of 5% that we anticipated, but it's only on water now that we are talking about. Clearance certificates, it's a 5% increase. It was normally 165, it's 173. We also need to pay for that. Then the category in sewerage, you will notice that the fixed charge, single residential and churches, 114, only a 5% increase, bringing it up to 120. Fixed charge on sewerage, pensioners 0024, still the same. Can I continue? Yes. Properties. My colleagues are not assisting me this time, I'm tired. Lease of land for communication towers. We have noticed that these MTC towers and these other people that are putting out everything, paratus and all those other things, the existing one was 2,500, and we have done our homework in terms of the market availability and flexibility of these tariffs, and we have seen that we can actually put up a 300% increase on then bringing up to 10,000. Because the rate for internet services and all those MTC services is quite high, and we have requested that now for this instance we really need to pay 10,000 as a tariff now. Even for way leave applications, it's a new thing there where people are coming. You remember, the trenches have been open in town, water breakages, power outages that we are experiencing of those way leaves that are being put in. First application, 10,000 for this new breakage fee. If you damage our network, 100% fee is 100,000 if you break our networks, because it has been taking place a lot in the town. Okay, now we go to stadiums, halls and cemeteries. Captain Hermanus van Wyk Memorial Hall. Is it how we have to pronounce it? Yes. Thank you so much. Live music shows, concerts, 1,000 existing, increase 2,000. Pensioners' grant payments per day is a new tariff that we have put up 5,000, because it's not the pensioners that are paying. It's the utilities or the institutions that are paying, using the facility to pay pensioners, so they should also pay 5,000. ECN trainings and voter education per day is a new tariff of 5,000 for ECN only, especially this area where they come. School functions was 500, now a small increase bringing up to $665.50 for school functions. The wedding functions, sorry. Wedding functions, 2,000. Weddings has become expenses now. People are paying 120,000 to have a wedding, so they can also pay 5,500 to have our walls, because we have to pay overtime when our cleaners have to go out there and clean the facility afterwards. That is the Captain Hermanus van Wyk Memorial Hall. On the One-Up Hall in Rio Spa, we have just put in the Rio Spa as a preemption, because we might not know what will happen. So functions at the One-Up Hall is 385. Increase is now up to 1,210 for functions. ECN trainings, 5,000. Pensioner grants payments per day, 5,000. The RTC chambers, ECN trainings and voter education per day, 5,000. Your Worship.
Mr. CEO, these nice increments, I don't agree with any of them in terms of the stadiums, the halls, and the cemeteries. I would want you to go to Walvis Bay, for instance, the Moresque Community Hall. It's a suburb, as a Swakop. It's a gewone saal for a gewone gemeenskap. And they have the facilities. Our halls in people are complaining, paying money, but the quality of our facilities is not of such nature that we can really increase anything. For me, it must not even be charged. But we have an existing gazetted tariff. I want us to stay there. That is now my opinion. Because I want all of them to be closed for now, for a certain period of time, and then I want those people working with those things to go and benchmark in other places. What must the town council offer to the community? You are offering one of community hall to the community, and then you have increased how much? What is the percentage? 1,210. What is the percentage? Why is there no percentage? But you have increased it like 2-3 times the amount. And in the evening, I cannot even switch on a light there. There is no light. I have to come with my cables there, and then I have to now get light. And then you are increasing from 300 to 1,210. Unacceptable for me. I want you to go and benchmark and then come back and justify your increments in that regard. Because what we are offering currently to our community is below par in comparison of any other town. And one other thing, why can't we allocate institutional workers and caretakers to those places that would be permanently placed there? Now you are, on every Saturday you are running around taking these cleaners, 5 of them to that place, and then 5 of them to other places. Let the people, all the institutions in other places, even if we went as councillors last week or the week before to Marindal at the stadium, there is a permanent cleaner there and a permanent caretaker there, so that the facilities, because when we had a meeting, last meeting in Wanoball, we could not use the ablution facilities, yet you are increasing. And the problem is, you will say the community is breaking it down. Why? Because you don't take care of it. Because there is no one placed there. So the justification does not really, for me, that is my opinion. One of the 7 councillors.
Your Worship, yes, I have to agree on that one. The one thing is, we had in the past, especially the Captain Hermanus van Wyk Hall, we had an institutional worker, 2 of them staying there permanently, and it was maintained. And I agree that we really have to that is why LED department has now put up a proposal for institutional workers to be put up at all these places where they will be appointed and stay and maintain those areas. The one thing that I also think the tariff is now in place, and I also agree that even while the tariff is the new tariff is in place, it can be shut down for a certain period, all those facilities, in order to bring it up to the standard where they are. Because you will notice that our tariffs is not the one, when they are gazetted, it's not the only one that is on the gazette. It's normally with all the towns, and we have looked at what the other towns are offering. And we have already benchmarked on what the other towns are offering. But unfortunately, most of the time, I've also seen some of the facilities at other towns, while they are even asking extraordinarily high prices, but the facilities are not in place. I've seen at towns, I will not even mention them. But for now, it's only to make sure that we are already covered in terms of the tariff, but we can still suspend renting it out to anybody in order to bring it up to the standard what we are trying to ask for. And that is what we really ask. And I even said, I would request council for all these facilities, the halls, the chambers, the stadiums, it should be closed down so that we can at least maintain and bring them up to a certain standard. Look at the Rio Stadium. precast. It's a high time that Rio Stadium must get precast fencing in order to make sure that it's completely fenced off. I've seen people jumping, even yesterday, kids are jumping through the fence. They are opening holes, some holes there, and it's not good. And then you have to understand the person that is renting the facility. You are taking the money, and that is why I also said in the departments, why are we taking money if we also know that the facility is not up to the standard? Tell the person there's nothing that I can give you on that one. I will not be able to take your money. But then it's an institutional decision that the council also has to take and say, let's close them off and revamp them. And then eventually, people will. We did it in the past with the Rio Stadium. There was a committee, which you call a sports committee, where even community members were part of, and they were able, under the GIZ program, were able to revamp that Rio Spa. Let it even have a Rio Stadium. Sorry, let it even have a pavilion now. In the past, it never had it before. Because of that committee, it was done. So we have to go by that means and see what we can do.
Later, before I give to the councillor.
I'm looking at the tariff that Mr. Tronshed circulated. Like our first column is for the mandatory deposit. Let's look at Hermanus van Wyk. Oh. We have live music show. Mandatory deposit is $1,000, and then the total cost is 2,000, and then he put a 2,000 there, like there is no increase. That's why there's 0%. And even if we look at the school functions, it's a 500 mandatory deposit, which is refundable, and then the price is 665. There is no increase, it remains 665. Even on the OANOB Hall, the functions, currently mandatory deposit is 385, which is refundable, and then the price is 1,210, and there is no increase, it remains 1,210, and so forth.
Noted. And thank you for the clearance. Councillor Kutja.
Your Worship, mine is only that I want to see that when we are charging these for the halls, that we also then say this is the money going into that vote. So the money that we are receiving is to renovate that place and bring it up to a standard. So where's the money going if the place are not going up to standard? That's my question. Delete clarify the first one because I just wanted to say that is a deposit that I can see from here, and then it's the rest. But if you have to pay the deposit because there was nothing damaged. But to be honest, Your Worship, if I now go to Origo and I ask Origo for their school hall, they give it to me for 2,500 with 200 chairs. The air conditioning is working, everything is in proper state. But if I go now to Captain Hermanus van Wyk Hall, I don't want to have a function there because it's not up to standard at all. So I'm not. The only reason is when the others are occupied, the other halls are occupied. Now you are forced to go to Hermanus. It should not be the case because Hermanus Hall should be a place where the community must go first because our rates and our standards it's lower than private and lower than the others. That is why we are a council. We give certain fees for a cheaper price for people to use our services or our facilities, like the sports facility and stuff. So it must not be a cash cow or a place where we milk money from the community, but we must rather use it to improve. So can we then say that we want to see the votes of that money so that we can see how to renovate that areas? Because we can't, the people cannot pay money for the hall, Captain Hermanus van Wyk Hall, but that money's been taken, then it's been taken to pay the guy who's sweeping for example, the streets. It will never work like that. So we have to stick to votes and we have to budget. If that is the vote that we are budgeting for, that must get preference to be improved. If that makes sense. Thank
You
you.
are making sense, Councillor. What we are saying is there are two things coming from this discussion. We are acknowledging as a council that our facilities are not on par. What we need to do now is that we cannot close them all at once. The instruction now it should be that we need to close one off, renovate it, and continue with the next one. And then systematically, remember our allocation or appropriation of funds is also not on par from the central government. So we need to look at, as you rightfully say, the money that we earn from these facilities must go back into those facilities. So we have instruction from the council side that we, for a certain period, close one off, renovate one, and then move on as we are. That should be the instruction. And that the other important aspect that we also discuss is we have many institutional workers. Remember our budget or our allocation or our funds, availability of funds is of limited. We are limited in terms of that resource, financial resources. So we cannot appoint other people. There's a lot of people. When I go out now, I'll see in the morning the institutional workers will clean, and after 11 now, they're just there. So if we reallocate and maybe rotate them in those facilities, we don't have to appoint someone to just stay there. Because as much as we would want to appoint people and give employment, we don't have the funds. So let's get those that are available. Let's get that task being done with what is available at the moment. So our institutional workers should be told, or whoever is responsible, rotate between these facilities so that we can have stationed. That's why the ablution facilities of Kwanop looks like that, because there is no stationed caretaker there, so that we can look at, allocate or redistribute the job allocation to the different sites that we have. There should be a institutional worker at our fire brigade office, and we don't have. Every office must have. Every office, when I go into the fire brigade, I must be able to see as I enter. It should be a replica of this institution, of the main institution. If I go into that facility, I want to see who is the CEO of this council, but I don't see, because you are not there, or your picture is at least not there, or your organogram is not there. We want to see these things. It should replicate our main office. This should be the head office, and the other, all our institutions must replicate who we are and what we are doing. So that are the two decisions that needs to be taken note of and then implemented by the technocrats while we are on the budget. The DM.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually heard Mr. CEO just mentioned that at a stage there were two people at the Hermanus van Wyk gedenksaal. I also just wanted to say that we must at least have one person and not two, because if there's two people, the one are walking around in the street, at least one person so that he can be there. If there's something happening, that person must be there, responsible for that whole, and not two people. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Kutse.
Yeah, I forgot something. I forgot actually something. We made, especially at the Hermanus van Wyk Hall, there's a resolution that we're still waiting due to the captain request at the acknowledging, or swearing in of the captain. So we just have to deal with it, because I just thought of it now, that we still have to propose to the ministry for a new community hall for ourselves, because that was under the, it's under the traditional authority, that hall now. So we just have to,
Let's not confuse the community.
no, Your Worship, I'm just saying, so what I'm actually coming to a point with that. Just bear with me quickly. But I just want us to just take cognizance, because we said we're closing one hall, just to bring that. But Your Worship, why can't we put that facilities under community services? So the person who is in charge of the community services can take also over that duty in order for them to bring in people that they can appoint to clean that area. I believe that will be a proper way to start with the cleaning and starting with the upgrades and starting with how the facility looks like. Because, Your Worship, it's not looking good at all. All three halls, or ANAP, Rio Spa, and Kaptein Hermanus van Wyk, they are not up to standard at all.
Good. What we need to say in terms of the various divisions know where the halls and cemeteries and stadiums are falling. They need to take responsibility. So properties must take responsibilities, and if there are any realignments, the CEO must realign or reassign. But for now, all the community halls are under the jurisdiction of the Rehoboth Town Council. All of them are under the jurisdiction of the Rehoboth Town Council. Let us continue.
Thank you, Worship. The health services, fire brigade, noise pollution, the first one, noise pollution. The existing tariff there is 1,000. The reason why the increase was made, that is why I said one of the initiators of the division must also be here. Maybe Freddie can assist me. Why it is up for 200% to 300 to 3,000, sorry. Meaningly that we have a lot of noise pollution complaints in town. And the police are referring everybody to the Rehoboth Town Council because we have a noise pollution policy in place. The noise pollution policy in place is not actually there for Rehoboth Town Council to conduct or do the security of noise pollution, but then it also gives now, it's a law, it's a bylaw that can be used by the Namibian police also now to go out there when a complaint is lodged. That once you don't abide with it, then a fee is going to be charged to you. Unfortunately for us now, we, with the assistance of the city of Windhoek in the past, had trained peace officers. Currently, we only have, I think, one person that is now in the Rehoboth Town Council left as a peace officer. But the program was not initially put up to the last stage in terms of 100% implementation. Now, LED is looking at ways now to see whether we can have that one. We train peace officers now. They can go around not only for noise pollution, but also for littering, illegal refuse removal, so that these people can be given fines, and once you receive that fine, you can tow it up normally as we do, we don't acknowledge, but once that fine, a leaflet of that fine will land at the magistrate office or the court, and eventually the court will issue a warrant of arrest once you are not paying that fine, because a peace officer is entitled to do that. So that is what LED is currently trying to do. With the fire brigade, in terms of the Fire Brigade Act, we are only charging a fire brigade levy. Now the thing is, council has to charge also there are some other tariffs for fire brigade we can also charge, but the current fire brigade levy that we are having, we requested that there be a 20% increase across the board. For residentials, we are currently paying $8.70, 20% $10.30. Residential businesses and general residentials, $10.87, $14.40. For business, small, medium, and large is different. And then industrial and government pay separate findings in terms of fire brigade levy. That is a levy that you normally receive on your account, on the invoice. Fire brigade levy, ECB levy when you buy electricity, NEC levy, National Energy Fund, NEF levy. That is a National Energy Fund levy. There is a one on fire brigade that we requested a 20% increase from council. Then we also already put up new tariffs for Rio Spa. Once it's in place or it's done and open and inaugurated, we have put up tariffs for the VIP bungalow per night. New VIP price for bungalow per night is 1,000 Namibian dollars. Normal bungalow per night, 500 Namibian dollars. Swimming pool adults, $30. Swimming pool minus $10. Prize spots, $250 per spot. I think.
Let me start with the Rio Spa. The VIP, I think it's VIP, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But the community, I think I understand the community will be offered a glimpse of what you are trying to achieve. So for me, you must not make Rio Spa a profitable business entity on its own. What we should remember is it is entertainment, core mandate of this council to provide. Is it entertainment? What do you call those things? Recreation. That's why I gave you school, Cassandra. Recreation. So that recreation means that we should not be on the level of the usual businesses because we are not competing. We are supposed to offer an alternative which will otherwise, a person that would not otherwise go to a B&B should be able to go to our communal recreation center. So for the bungalow per night, it should come down to 350 because we need to not get marketplace and eventually you can increase it. But for now, Rio Spa is a community thing. And if we are above, even the B&Bs here are offering 50, 350, 400 per night. Now, if we are above, then it means a person, we as a council is supposed to offer not breakfast, offer things that the community would not otherwise have attained. That's our mandate. A person that is in Driehof that would never go to a B&B should be able to afford to go to a B&B in our community. That's the aim of Rio Spa. It should be accessible to our community. So that 500 is too high for me. VIP, I understand it's VIP. Then the swimming pool cannot be $30. Should be $20. A child in Kavuki that never has seen a swimming pool should go there and have access. That's our core mandate. We need to offer what people shouldn't have otherwise obtained due to affordability. So those prices must come down. The price spots also 150. I'm just suggesting, but the community will suggest. My suggestion is that no one is supporting me. We will go to the community and the community will say, but what I'm saying is, do you understand the concept that I'm saying? I'm saying this Rio Spa should not be at the same level of entry and affordability for where all the people that have means to do so. I want the community to access, to be able to go and sleep there, to have host functions there and such. But if we have upmarket middle class prices, then we are excluding or discriminating financially to those that cannot afford. That is just my 10 cents in terms of that. But I also understand that you want to make money. These bungalows, the community must also understand these tariffs are put in place because we, at the moment, is in phase 2 of the renovations. And with this renovation phase 2, we are saying, while we are waiting to open the Rio Spa as a whole, we will have to engage the Namibian Tourism Board to, in the meantime, sir, approve and check and inspect and approve the usage of at least the bungalows that are finished so that we can start and see how the operational work or the operations will work at Rio Spa. We are not opening it up for the whole Rio Spa as an entity, but if NTB approves, at least after inspection, the bungalows, we want to start with that one because that one is close to finishing. But the rates, I'm having a little problem with. The CEO wants to say something, then the DM, then the DM then.
I agree with you, Your Worship, about the price tariffs. I was also wondering if people will be able to enter into the Rio Spa and also maybe pay entrance fee. Mr. CEO, I was just wondering, but as your worship say, the VIP bungalows, I agree with the $1,000. Normal bungalows a little bit down, swimming pool a little bit down, and then the kids. Let's come to the kids. I'm a grandmother. Let's come to the kids. I'm working with Burgershoek, Volkshuisvlakte. They won't be able to afford even at $10, and they must still get to Rio Spa, which is very far. So let's consider them. And then the price spots, we can really, if it's up to standard, we can really make also a difference there. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor.
Yes, I'm hearing for the kids, but you just have to remember, once you make it for children free of charge, it means that you will never be able to go with your family, because then it will be every day full of kids, and then you don't have your privacy when you want to go there, because now it's open for everyone. So you have to bring in either $5 or like it's there like $10, because you have to bring certain orders as well. And the other thing is you also have to get your maintenance, because to maintain a swimming pool, it's very expensive. To maintain the 250 for a prize pot, it's actually cheaper than the others, because normally you pay $500 just for your prize pot alone at South Park, and you still have to drive 10 kilos. You still have to pay $500 for a prize area, which allows you to have 10 people. So it's not really expensive to say 250 for a prize pot accommodating 10 people, which is very cheap, honestly. The $20 it's as well for the adults, or the $30 for the adults, it's okay. Because even if you go to Harbison, even to South Park, it's $50. So it's not really. The bungalow itself, I can say, okay, I can agree, but you also have to understand that if it comes to the accommodation, it's what you receive. Because the $500 that you are paying, you are getting the facility of the swimming pool, and you're having a braai area at your bungalow as well. So it's what you get inclusive for the $500. At other places, they charge $400 or $450, but you don't have that facilities. So this is just to bring, because the people who's booking for the bungalow is having access to the swimming pool. You understand? So that's where the price comes in actually. But if you say $350, how much will go to the swimming pool? Because that money must be divided now into various services now while you're staying there. So some money is going to renovate the bungalows in the future, and some money must go to the swimming pool. How much will you collect in order to renovate your bungalow, and how much will you get to renovate your swimming pool? So that is how, and then you must make a little bit of profit for maintenance and other things like electricities and water bills. So how much, if you make 350, how much will we pay for the water consumption? Because the swimming pool is taking a lot of water to fill it. So that is how you have to look into it. And I do understand, but it's not cheap to maintain a swimming pool from a council side.
I do understand you, Councillor, the DM, and then we have to move.
Your Worship, we're talking about a recreational center. That, to me, my point of view, is the difference between South Park, Rio Spa, whatever the others, and then Rio Spa, the recreational center. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, we need, we are at the cross, we are supposed to most now suggest, so therefore, you know, there has been points that was explained and substantiated by Councillor Kutsia and the mayor, the deputy mayor. So therefore, I think at the moment we push it through to the public for public consultation as is, and the public will also give their comments, and then we can amend and alter. We move on.
Thank you, Worship. Challenges. These are the challenges. Insufficient financial resources that restrict the council to implement some of the planned capital projects. Lacked, as we already said, the service lane, non-payment of accounts, high maintenance cost on vehicles and heavy equipment, potential buyers that we had talked about, the developers' non-compliance to council resolutions, payment of commitment deposits that we talked about. Those are part of the challenges. Anything else on it? And thank you.
Can you go back to the next, previous slide?
The challenges is, Your Worship, certain streets, the street lights are being fixed. But due to the drug houses or those illegal drug houses that is there, also illegal activities, not drug houses actually, they are vandalizing the street lights so that street becomes dark. Children are vandalizing the electrical boxes in the streets. They are kicking it, they're running and they're jumping on the things, they're doing this backflips and stuff on that. The vandalism is also a challenge. We have to take an acknowledgement because what is our tariffs on vandalisms of all these equipment? Because we have to start also somewhere. Penalties here, because it's unbearable to take for a child to see that there's an open electricity box and pour water on the box, and that water trip the whole area's electricity. And I mean, you can't pour water on an electricity box. And drivers at drunk at night pumping the boxes, and also it's also things, vandalisms. What are we doing about it, honestly? We're having all these problems in our communities as residents, and they are complaining about it. We are hearing a lot about it. But as it, the illegal activities, it's blowing my mind. Why do you need to vandalize the street lights that we are fighting so hard? And it's so expensive. One bulb is costing us a lot of money.
I think that what the councillor wants to communicate is that you put a challenge as vandalism also. Because even the streets where you are, where the street names, they are turning the street names to stop signs and everything. The vandalism is very big in our community. I think by now we are done with, where's the thank you?
On it, yes, I agree with the councillor, Your Worship, that the extension of Church Street, they have already taken down the signs there and remove it. Maybe some of them are already at the scrapyard. We encourage the people of the scrapyard to refuse taking in those metals if they receive them, and to report it.
So I think that is the tariffs in the capital projects budget, and we will soon, through the public relations office, announce when we are taking out these budgets to the various communities. For now, we will resume at 2:00.